Great. Well, I hope you did enjoy yesterday, and certainly I did. I know our team did, and we got a lot from it. I hope you did too. More than anything, I hope you picked up some really strong messages. Obviously, in the keynotes in particular, from Jenny, from Chris, and from the Minister, I hope that gave you a feeling, it certainly did for me, that we're in a really strong and good place as a network, some real strong commitment. And I feel, often we're a bit hesitant and lacking in confidence about our role and our place in the world, but I think now, if ever, we should be really confident in our role, and some really strong messages. There's obviously an election around the corner that gives inevitable risks to everybody involved in sport, or publicly funded indeed. But nevertheless, I think it is time to raise our ambitions, raise our aspirations. We are here to stay as a network. We're well embedded. We're playing an absolutely essential role in sport in this country, and I think it is time to raise our ambitions. And we are a hugely powerful network, as those messages stated yesterday. We're in a strong position internally. We launched our Good to Great mission last year. It's been great to watch over the last 12 months, you all taking that, embracing the Good to Great ethos, setting your own Good to Great journeys within your CSPs. As you'll have seen, if not before today and yesterday, but you'll have seen that we've now got a small core team, a CSP network, really galvanising the work that we're able to do to support you at a national level. So we feel much more confident in our role. But the bit I want to focus on this morning, therefore, having got to that point, is the collective journey, the collective Good to Great journey of the network as a whole, and where and how we need to work together. So, does anybody recognise this, what this might be depicting? I get this quite often. People say to me in my role, God, Lee, your job, it must be like herding cats. It must be an incredibly difficult job with all those pesky 45 CSPs. They're all so different. But not only do I get that, I think you get it as well, don't you? Because you often tell me. So you'll get challenged. We collectively get challenged about our consistency or inconsistency. It gets a little bit tiresome. We consistently get challenged about our efficiency, and are we too costly as a network, and all the kind of administration targets that we've been talking about over the last 12 months. And I think individually, you often tell me that you'll be told, oh, you're a great CSP, you're doing some great work, thank you very much. If only they were all like you are. And I think if you could put your card up, if you've heard something along those lines, either if only they were more consistent, if you're great, but shame about some of the others, or something along those lines, could you show your green card now? Yeah, as I suspected, quite a good sprinkling of green cards. So I want to sort of start to challenge and understand that this morning, and help us to collectively challenge some of those things. People who don't work in a structure like ours think it would be much easier if we were just one organisation, command and control. I could tell the CSPs what to do and they all did it. We didn't need 45 of everything in the CSPs. Wouldn't it be cheaper? Wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be simpler? But actually, I think it misses the point, and I certainly, for one, fundamentally disagree with that. We are, after all, a federated structure. This is kind of a definition of a federated structure. Independent, locally autonomous organisations. And we're not unique by any means in that way. YMCA, who we worked closely with over the last couple of years, Mind, MenCap, many others, particularly in the charitable sector, have federated structures where they have local autonomous organisations with a national umbrella body. But we are fairly unique in sport. There is nobody else that can do what we do, that has the structure that we have. And so we are really uniquely well placed, and I think uniquely powerful in that way. However, we don't really tell people that story, so it's not surprising that we get those challenges that we do. Wouldn't it be easier if? It's not surprising, because we never really explain why we are how we are and what the benefits of that are. So I just want to take a couple of minutes this morning to get that story, if you like, get that narrative straight. What the real benefits are of us working as we do and the network that we have. So what is it about the power of our network and the way that we're structured? First of all, higher visibility in the community. 45 really strong organisations, all in your local communities across the whole of England, but equally, hopefully, with a strong national brand and identity. And hopefully you've seen the branding over the last couple of days, if you hadn't seen it before, that we've tried to strengthen in the last 12 months and hopefully does give us a much stronger national brand identity. And really importantly, I think for you guys, the credibility that that gives you, that you're part of something bigger, not just a local organisation. Similarly, we have those connections with local communities that other national organisations cannot have, would love to have. We are directly connected, whether it's with clubs, our coaches, our volunteers, who are not just names on a database, but people with which you interact day in and day out. Community Games, I think, was a great example of how we are so connected with our communities. 2,000 community games over a 12-month period. Direct contacts and links into very, very, very street-level local communities. It really is very powerful. And then we are nimble and responsive to local need. We're not a huge bureaucratic organisation that takes layers and layers and layers to get things through. You can all respond, your small organisations, your nimble organisations that can be really responsive at a national level to deliver a national campaign, or equally to really understand the needs of your community and be able to respond to those quickly and effectively. But again, we also have the benefit of the greater collective impact and results that collectively we can achieve. And throughout this, it is about the best of both worlds. We have the best of being locally embedded organisations alongside the best of a national brand and a national organisation. We also have really strong local volunteer leadership as a result of our structure. We have around 600 staff working CSPs, but what we often forget is that we also have 600 board members, some of which are represented here today. 600 board members who are hugely connected, hugely influential, huge range of skills that they bring to our network that often we don't think about. And again, collectively, we have a stronger national voice, because when I mean, talks with government departments, ministers, civil servants, national agencies, I have that body behind me and the credibility that that gives me at a national level. And then local innovation. Some of our best work has not been designed in Sport England at a national level, in a government department, at CSPN, in our core team. Our best work very often, almost always, is designed locally by a CSP. So that innovation, we effectively have 45 innovation teams, 45 people being creative, coming up with unique solutions at a local level. But, and most importantly, because lots of small organisations have lots of those things, but what we can do, or what we have the potential to do, is to create economies of scale, to scale that great work up very quickly, very speedily across our network. And the Workplace Challenge, I think, in the last 12 months, has been a great example of how we've found something that's really good, some great innovation, but through your work and through our network, we've been able to scale it up and replicate it at pace. We also have increased accountability. With a very big organisation with lots of small departments or organisations within it, there often is a lack of accountability because it feels like it's somebody else's problem. And if it all goes wrong, well, somebody else will sort it out. If you in your individual CSPs get it wrong, if you get your cash flow wrong, your business plans wrong, you'll go bust. And that is generates some real accountability at a local level for your organisations, for your boards and for your teams to make sure you get it right day in and day out. But equally, as the Minister said yesterday, what he's really interested in, and as Jenny also said yesterday, she thinks that whatever next government will be most interested in, is being able to reach right across England. Every school, as far as the Minister's concerned, every community, as Jenny was saying yesterday. And again, who else can do that but our network? And it's really because of all that, because of that best of both worlds, but that story that we don't tell, that we've come up with our core brand promise, which you'll see in the branding, of national reach and local impact. And really, what I want you to take from that brief synopsis is that we all need to communicate that message. So when we do get that challenge about the diversity that we have in the network, we're able to explain that that's a strength, not a weakness, and that those challenges may have some validity, but actually they're just an outcome of our structure. However, in order to get those benefits and mitigate those challenges and risks that sometimes come our way, we do need to work at our network and to make sure, if you like, that our network works and that we do realise the potential and the power of our network. So these are a few things, and this isn't necessarily me, this is from common research around federated structures and what needs to happen in networks like ours to make them work. You do need a collective mission, culture and KPIs, and we've done a lot of work on that. As you know, over the last 12 months we now have a collective mission, we now have a collective culture that we're trying to develop, and we have a range of KPIs that you can utilise at a local level. We do need to foster collaboration and innovation. We need to be careful we don't stifle your innovation at a local level, and we need to help you to collaborate with each other, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. We do need to promote and safeguard our brand. Again, key purpose of developing the branding this year. And importantly, we need to take advantage of scale through joint procurement, collective bidding, replication, training and development. And we're fairly young as a network, and we're just starting on the journey on some of this, but I think we are going in the right direction. Critically, what all of this is saying is that we need to act like a network, not act like 45 individual or independent organisations. Other things we need to do really well as a network is to have an integrated revenue development or business development programme, as we often call it, and I'm going to return to that as well. We need to be able to measure our collective impact as well as your individual impact, to monitor and improve our performance on an ongoing basis. And of course, in order to make the whole network work, we do need to increasingly probably come up with and adhere to network protocols, policies and positions. But all of that is to help you understand, hopefully, that we're not doing that for the sake of it. We're doing that to make our network work and for good business reasons. So, three key themes I think that come out of that for us that we've really pinned down in terms of the culture that we want to cultivate across the network, and in terms of some of the activities that we need to do collectively under these three headings: collaborative CSPs, enterprising CSPs and high-performing CSPs. And we recognise that sometimes those things are in conflict with each other, and we need to work through that collectively. Just going to touch very briefly on each of those. So collaborative CSPs, I always think that this is at the heart of what a CSP is about. It's what at the heart of what we as people are about. We are very collaborative by nature, I think. But what I'm just trying to reflect in this slide is that CSPs need to think about being collaborative with national partners, helping national partners to deliver locally through our network. Most often we deliver with and through our local partners, your local partners at a local level. But also, in terms of the triangle, that you need to work collaboratively with each other as well. And I think we're well on course on that, and as I say, I think this comes to us by nature. Adrian touched on our stakeholder partner satisfaction survey yesterday, and I think that demonstrates that we're making great progress. Again, we've year-on-year increases in our Net Promoter Score. We're not yet at the Metro Bank standard, but we are pretty good, and we're making good progress. But we know there are areas to work. What this chart shows is that there's differences between some of our networks. Overall, it shows that the people who are embedded in CSPs at local level, our local partners, are very, very supportive of CSPs. People who are not involved day-to-day in CSPs at a national level often don't quite understand or value the work that you do quite so well. But that's work for us to do. There's also variation across CSPs, and so there are areas that we need to continue to improve on. Most notably, of course, in our partnership space is our partnership with Sport England. And hopefully, again, yesterday you got some really strong messages of the strength of our partnership with Sport England. It has matured significantly. We have a really strong and healthy working relationship. And I think the Club Matters Innovation Fund is a great example of that. It's in your pack, so you'll be able to look at it later. But as you know, Sport England launched Club Matters, their latest programme to support clubs, just a few weeks ago. And through the work of Adrian and Charlie, with Richard and others in the Sport England team, we've been discussing how CSPs could play a stronger role in that. And again, a really good example of a really healthy conversation that we've been having, which has resulted in this innovation fund, which means that 10 CSPs, you can all apply, and 10 CSPs will be selected for £20,000 each for the next 12 months to really activate the Club Matters programme. That gives us a great opportunity to demonstrate what we can do as a network, the power of our network, which hopefully then we can scale up and replicate across the whole network in future years. So it's just a bit of an advert for that, but also an example of the strength I'd like to think of our relationship with Sport England and the work of some of my colleagues in our national team. Overall, I think at a national level in terms of our partnerships, we've had, with a very small national team, we've had very good, positive relationships with a whole range of national agencies. But what I feel we've not quite cracked with many of them is a real strong collaborative partnership. So our plan for the next 12 months is to move from a positive relationship to a strong, proactive, collaborative partnership with a number of our key partners. And I want to announce this morning that these are 5 of the first national organisations that we're really going to try and develop that strong partnership with. And it's these partners mainly because they recognise some great value in working with and through our national network and through county sports partnerships. Just briefly, Sports Coach UK, we've worked very closely with Sports Coach UK over a number of years, but we feel we've perhaps not made the most of the relationship and the partnership that we have. We don't necessarily sing the virtues of that work, so we're going to try and make sure we do that. AOC Sport was launched as a new organisation through a merger of 2 previous organisations just a few months ago. So really timely, but they are very keen to work through and with CSPs to make sure we have a collective offer to support college sport. The English Federation of Disability Sport, we talked yesterday with Jenny about the importance of really trying to close the equality gap and really address disability sport. So I'm really pleased that we're in quite well progressed discussions with the FDS to agree a really strong partnership agreement with them. Similarly with Association for PE, that's come about through our work and your work on the primary premium, and they're very keen to work with our network to make sure that their network throughout England is very much aligned and working with you. So that's a really strong partnership. And then finally, Join In. Many of you know about Join In. They've evolved over the last few years as a result of 2012 legacy work. But I just want to take the opportunity to invite Dave Moorcroft, Director of Sport, up to the stage just for a minute, just to explain, just as an example of those national partnerships, why Join In would like to work and develop that partnership with us. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Lee. Morning, everyone. You know, when we were all struggling to stand up to do that Mexican wave, it kind of occurred to me that once upon a time, this group were amongst the finest physical specimens that this country had ever produced. Sadly, no more. It is a pleasure to be here today. I've been involved with CSPs for many, many years, since the late 1990s. For a period, I was the Chief Executive of UK Athletics, and now with Join In. And I'd just like to congratulate you on the work that CSPs have done over many, many years, and also the way in which you've evolved and improved. And I think it was very right yesterday that you have made a big impact. You have got a very good reputation, but maybe your work is still a little bit of a well-kept secret. And so raising profile, I think, is really important. Just a little bit on the why. Join In was created as a legacy project from 2012 with a real focus on volunteering. And we think we appreciate the value of volunteers. You know, we could all say volunteers are the backbone of sport in this country. But if we don't appreciate them, and if we are complacent, if we don't look for new and different methods of recruiting, then that great resource we've got will dwindle. Volunteers created sport, they created competition, they created clubs, they created rules. Every Olympian, every Paralympian, every player that's ever played for England, any sport, were created by volunteers. Volunteers at the heart of communities, they're at the heart of clubs. Millions of people's lives have been enhanced by the work of volunteers. And when we look at the success of the Olympics and the Paralympic Games, we really can trace it back 200 years to volunteers, not just the games makers. What we've tried to do, working together, is, and this is a little bit on the why, is with Lee's colleagues, Adrian and Charlie, is begin with the why and then look at the what. And there's just a couple of lines that I think are really important. That volunteers in local sport have the power to transform people's lives and their communities. And they really do. We think we have that power, and we often have the control, and maybe the control over the purse strings. But in terms of the biggest army of people that can make that effect, it's volunteers. Volunteers in local sport and physical activity have the power to transform people's lives and their communities. And the other line that kind of relates to that is that volunteers build stronger, healthier, happier communities. And that's absolutely true. So if we enhance and improve and recruit new and different volunteers that can reach new and different audiences, then they've got the power to build stronger, healthier, happier communities. So a little bit on the what. You remember Vanessa Brown, formerly the director of the Coventry, Warwickshire, Solihull CSP and then worked at Sported and sadly passed away about a year ago. She gave me a great line, and I don't know whether it was her line, but she said one of the things that holds sport back in this country are egos and logos, and she's absolutely true. I think it's a wonderful line. And we're all guilty of it. We all know we're guilty of it. But this, as Lee said, is the success of sport in this country, the success of moving sport forward will be in the quality of the partnerships and the way in which we can deal with things like egos and logos. Our own egos are included in that. So the framework that Charlie, Adrian and my colleagues at Join In have created is a framework of cooperation. And it's inviting any CSP to work with Join In. And we've identified 3 key areas, but you can work at whatever level you want and whatever level is relevant for you. The first part of that is about local coordination, because Join In is a national organisation based in London. You are the deliverers of sport regionally. So the first part of it is that CS becomes the network for engagement locally, for making it relevant locally, talking to local communities. So it's very much within the framework about local coordination and how some of our projects, like local leaders, fit into that. The second element is if some of the skills that Join In have in terms of brand communication and campaigns can be relevant, both to improve and enhance sport offer in your regions, but also to raise the profile of your work and the visibility of your work locally. And this week, yesterday, we launched our first single sport campaign this year, which is a 2-week period working with England Boxing, and hopefully that will go well. And the third element is digital. It's an area that I struggle to understand, but we have a strong digital offer. There is a bit of a complication because there are other digital offers, but Join In has a website where we can match clubs and organisations that want volunteers to individuals who want to volunteer. That's underpinned by person-to-person support through the local leaders. But those 3 areas are the 3 key areas that we're focusing on. The framework gives options. The framework's available on our little stand at the as you walk into the auditorium area. And the framework describes different ways in which you can be engaged on your terms. The final thing I was going to say before I sit down is that Join In did a bit of research, nothing to do with me, but with my colleagues, that is called Hidden Diamonds, and it looks at the real value of volunteers, not just the what would it cost if you had to replace them with the minimum wage, but how they really impact communities, how they impact the lives of people who volunteer themselves, and how through volunteers it increases participation. It looks at health, it looks at well-being, it looks at physical health, it looks at mental health, it looks at the strength of communities. Volunteers are amazing, as this document proves. If you do one thing, have a quick look at this document. Really looking forward to working with you. And a huge thanks to Lee, to Adrian and Charlie for the massive amount of work they've done supporting my colleagues, Zara and Emily. Thanks very much indeed.
Okay. It's great. Thanks very much, Dave. And as I say, just an example of some of the partnerships that we really want to strengthen and develop with national organisations that really see the value and want to work with and through our network. So that was collaborative CSPs. We also want to help you to become enterprising CSPs. You have set this year a collective challenge and target to generate an additional £5 million of non-sport England funding into our network in the next couple of years. It's a huge challenge, particularly in the current financial and economic climate. It's going to require us to change some of our ways, some of our culture, develop new skills and develop new approaches. And it will take some time, but I know you're up for that, and it's really good to see. To try and assist that, we've developed a business development forum, which many of you have started to get involved with. We are working up a new business model, revenue generation model, so that we have a collective approach to business development across the network, which will require us to develop some business protocols and that collaborative approach between CSPs. We're going to look to try and create a pooled investment fund, so we have some funds available to really invest in taking the best of your work and scaling it up and replicating it up across our network. So we're making really good progress there, and I just, as I'm going to be introducing Adam shortly, just quote him in saying that if we really get this area of work right as a network, he feels that our network is so potentially powerful that it would put Oaks and other businesses like Oaks out of business in no time. So that is our collective challenge. Nothing against Adam or Oaks, but he thinks there are lots of organisations like us in this space that are doing great work, but CSP is a much better place with our local presence, with our national reach, to do much of that. And then finally, high-performing CSPs, as you know, is key to our work. Adrian introduced the menu of improvement support. He made the point, I think, that it's for you to use as and when you see fit. My point would be that improvement should be embedded and ongoing. It's not something you do in March as part of annual planning. It's an ongoing process, and we all can continually improve. It's about improving, not proving. So when you have those sessions with Sport England, think about what is it we could do to get better, not what is it we need to do to prove to Sport England that we're delivering what we need to deliver. And of course, it's all about insight and impact, and we've got a lot of work going on. I think it'll be a key focus for us in the next 12 months about developing our insight work collectively, but also demonstrating the impact of our work across the country. So as I kind of start to draw to a close, we do have that collective mission now as a network. I hope are feeling much more like a network. Events like this each year are a key opportunity for you to come together and remind yourself that you are part of a national network, as well as the great work you do locally and individually. Chris talked about our headline goals yesterday that we set, and we had lots of debate about those over 12 months, but it was great for me to see yesterday. I think almost everybody put the green cards and said, yes, we're up for those and we can deliver those headline goals. So a really good statement and commitment, and feels like we're in a good place. So I started with that image of herding cats, and I really want us to be able to move on for you to help me to articulate the benefits of our network and explain to people it's not really about herding cats at all. And this is an image that I'd rather stays with you. A little bit corny, I don't usually do corny, but if you can read that, this is, I think, more like how we need to act. So we're not a disparate range of local organisations with no connections with each other. Neither are we a small or big national organisation that doesn't have that local reach and local connection. We have the best of both worlds, but we only have the best of both worlds if we act collectively and we act in this way. And finishing where I started, I think the message is we have a uniquely powerful network. We're doing some great things. If we really want to realise the power that we have as a collective network, we have to work at it, and we have to do some of the things that I've been talking about there today. Before I introduce our next speakers this morning, I just want to just take an opportunity, because otherwise I might miss out on my only opportunity ever to get one. So just a little reminder. Thank you. I knew I'd have to remind you.